Hello again, welcome back to another Vampire Survivors. It's June 23rd? No, wait, it's not the 23rd. What the hell was I thinking? Last video I said the Isaac video is the 23rd. It's the 24th of June, 2022. Well, shoot. That's fine. The Asunta Bel Passe. Whatever that means. Mana. Let's see. So we're not getting anything with this wheel guy for some ungodly reason. Not sure why. We're gonna do this, I guess, and then we did the bone zone. Like, I don't honestly know. I guess here I'm like trying to figure out things with this. Yep, so it's a Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Which this may or may not come out on a Friday. Actually, you know what? It might, because I got things set up now. Let's see, what do I want here first? Give me the golden egg, I guess. Plus 0.1 for that. Okay. Just give me that, and that, and that. And let me free. Let's re-roll. I guess give me regeneration just in case. I don't know. Probably don't really need it. Well, then again, the regeneration would be something where there could be a possible Evo upgrade with this. Let's do it this way, I guess. Yeah, Friday. I might have someone visiting me tomorrow. That's gonna be exciting. See how that goes. Kind of here drinking with my coffee too right now. Nice and warm. That's how I like it. Like, I don't mind cold coffee, like iced coffee or something, but I don't know. I just prefer it warm or something. Not like scorching hot, but though I usually cook it I usually scorch it hot because, you know, it's gonna last longer when it's warm, and I could just wait when it cools down or something. I don't know. Just up preference, I guess. Let's see here. Yeah, get that, I guess. Darn kids and their darn coffees. What are they gonna think of next? Golly. Coffee? Wow. What's next? Energy drinks? Or energy shots? Many years ago, there was a trend that was kind of catching on at some colleges called Quidditch, which is, I mean, it's based off of Quidditch from Harry Potter, you see, but because, you know, obviously there's no such thing as flying broomsticks and magic like that, they have to kind of improvise and make their own rules in the game. It looks pretty simple enough. Like, I don't remember what the rules are anymore because, one, I hardly play it. I don't even think I ever even played it. I've heard of it. somebody explained the rules to me of it. That was like over a decade ago. Like they made their own club and stuff like that. And then it went under fairly quickly, which makes sense because, you know, it's tied to Harry Potter, and Harry Potter isn't as relevant as what it used to be. Of course it's going to go under. And so that club didn't last long, as you can probably imagine. Plus, it's like it's like one of the very few clubs where you do a lot of physical activity. Not a lot of people like that either. So there's that. Like, I remember when they were introducing, this club was introducing to us this idea of Quidditch as a club or something. Kind of pitching their idea and everything else, and we let them do it. I mean, I wasn't Quidditch club, just kind of be out there. I was part of a student board and stuff, and Quidditch was a thing that was being talked about. Like, oh yeah, we're the new club, Quidditch club, da-da-da, and we give them proven for funding like any other club and stuff, so, for things. Of course, a big thing I've noticed over the years with clubs is they, at least in my perspective with the school I went to, there was a hell of a, I mean, I think all schools are like this, right? All colleges are like this, trying to retain members or gather members up. Because, like, you got a thing where it's like they're adults, so there's a combination of school and outside, like, work they got to do. Like, actual jobs or something. And then also, like, on top of that, you kind of run into this issue where it's like, you got to do homework outside of classes because it's going to be a lot more involved than, say, like, grade school or something. So they don't have really time to, you know, do the things they probably were curious to try and stuff, so it's kind of hard to recruit people, other students, and retain that, you know, membership, so that way it doesn't go defunct or something, the club doesn't. So there's that too. Like, I don't know how much these college like things functioned with going to banish his whip, by the way, with like COVID stuff, like, because the whole rule is like having to retain memberships, right? But then if you had the COVID lockdowns, you know, people are not going to classes and there's like restrictions of all sorts of different functions. So how do they keep these clubs for a lot of these colleges from, you know, collapsing or something because lack of membership attendance and whatever else? Because one of the rules, some of the rules that was established, at least when I was there, was just a bunch of like arbitrary, unnecessary things that, you know, basically says like, well, you got to attend X amount of meetings, which, I mean, it makes sense. Nothing wrong with that, because there was issues where we had people come in and pretend like, hey, we care about what you do, da-da-da, and we never attended a single meeting, like, for years. Could we get like over $5,000 worth of funding for one person to go out and do a competition outside of a state? Of course, I said no about that, but the others were like, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. Definitely not costing taxpayer dollars, but so that was a thing. And so, like, I gotta understand that portion, but then it got more and more ridiculous and more strict. Where in the lines of, like, how do I put it in words? So in the lines of, say, they have to have so many fundraisers, right? And they don't make a whole lot of money out of fundraisers, depending on what club you are and what day of the week you're doing it, whatever. I mean, there's some factors, I suppose, but like, and depending on what you're doing as a fundraiser. But in the most part, you're not making a whole lot. I mean, I guess it depends on the college and the town and everything, but for me, it was like hardly anything. But the whole idea is part of this requirement thing in order to get, you know, in order for you to like get the funding that you request in student board later on in the future, amongst other things. But we've had members where it was like very nosy when it comes to like other clubs like general fund amounts they got in their accounts. Because some clubs, they spend their money like it's water, and then they rely on the next fiscal year where the club gets X amount of dollars, you know, based on like budget cuts or whatever. Or whatever kind of determining factors kind of crop up all of a sudden. And so that's separate funding that we don't touch, but, you know, student board. But the funds we touch is about something that they request for like some club-related function. They can request from the student board, but it's only like a maximum amount, about $5,000 or something like that, I think. And so, one of the problems I heard off and on, thank God they're not like higher up officials or something in the student board, where it's like, essentially it's like, I kind of paraphrase it here, I guess. So it's essentially like, oh, well, there's, we should just gather everybody's funds up, all of them in their general accounts, and then divide it evenly across, you know, everybody, you know, all the clubs. But it's essentially, basically what they're essentially saying, in a very, like, you know, communistic standard, is spreading the wealth. Taking everybody's money, putting in a pool, and spreading the wealth. Of course, that never happened when I was there. So there's just like bits and pieces to some random member who doesn't understand the concept of finances and fairness. Wanted something like that. And so, and I think that kind of coincides with their club that they're in, because there's like, each of us are like different representatives for different clubs that's in student board. With the exception of like maybe like a couple of later positions. And so, this thing kind of rises up occasionally, and I think it coincides with the members' opinion of it, to how much the club is spending so much on money, and their accounts are low because they're constantly spending stuff instead of saving. And so they think it, you know, kind of a tongue-in-cheek way to be like, well, let's just take everybody's money that they've been holding on to and put it into a pool and then give it out to everybody that are careless about spending their money. Essentially what it is. I mean, in the end, all that money is going from, you know, taxpayer. Well, it's technically taxpayers. It's, I mean, I say technically, I don't know the specifics, but I say technically because part of it's, you know, tuition dollars, and then also like whatever they're getting out of you know, educational funding and stuff. So it's a complex system. And so that's the ordeal. Now, it's been, you know, it's been well over, like, we're over a decade or something like that I've been there, where it's like, I imagine a lot of things have been changed, a lot more rules and restrictiveness has been added. I doubt that they went around and they took everybody's money out of the accounts and spread it to everybody. I highly doubt that, because that would piss off a lot of departments. And these other clubs too have been saving the money, or they rate. That's another thing too. Like, okay, so fundraisers, that goes in the same kind of account, I think, as the money that they get collected from the school that they provide. You know, that's determined by the board of administrators. So I think that's where the same accounts kind of fall under for that. The money gets into the same thing. So essentially, I mean, it's people who raise a lot of money out of a fundraiser. Well, guess what? You're SOL, because if that concept ever worked like that, then the money that people earned from doing these fundraisers gets all collected and given to those who are doing little to nothing. And so, you kind of have that kind of thing going on, right? This ideology, which I thought was just absolutely absurd. It's so, it's because here's the thing, like, all the funding, kind of keep in mind too, all the funding that the school provides to these clubs are not disproportionate amongst one another. They all get their equal sharings, you see. So you got that. The only difference is, like, fundraisers where some may get some more than others, depending on how they do it, when they do it, and where they do it at on campus. There's a lot of hyper-specific information with, if you can make it big or you can make it small, and it's very unpredictable. Just like with trying to retain students in clubs or gain new members. Extremely difficult. Depending on what it is, of course, clubs. The most part is difficult. And so, whatever money that, say, like a nursing club or something like that makes with, like, selling brownies, for example, and like make like a huge amount of money, that would essentially be part of the funds that would be taken out and put into a pool if that ever happened. And that would piss off a lot of the nursing club members and also possibly nursing students separate from that, because they put a lot of work and time into cooking it, selling it, and also like sitting at a booth and selling them after X amount of time with other members. And so I think that's part of the reason why it's just never happened. It's just like, one, it's stupid concept that people occasionally come up with, which they have no, you know, say or power to turn it over. Unless you get like a bunch of them, I guess. Somehow you get a bunch of them that have very similar sentiments and try to do a change, but I doubt that they could even do that legally. I know of an apartment company I was looking into years ago. Gonna look into moving to this particular apartment, and was telling me about this system where it's like, and it's the damnedest thing because I've never heard such a thing in my entire life. And it was like, essentially, you rent the space, right? So you rent this new space, this apartment. And so what happens is you rent the space, And then electricity bill is all combined, right? So it's all combined from everybody. We got the big Bible, baby! We got the V Bible! Whatever that is. Evolved King Bible never ends. Requires spellbinder. Alright. Whatever that means with this thing. I can't tell you if there's any difference or not. I think that's probably the suckiest Evo I've ever seen. But we got it. So spellbinder is the thing, huh? Okay. I guess we just grab this. So yeah, that's the thing. It's that's how I kind of interpret how that thing is with that kind of stuff. It kind of blows my mind that people can be very selfish and think that they can get a quick pass on things for something like that. You know, taking people's, you know, funds because your later or membership or both decides to spend it on frivolous things and spend it the last dime. Now, I know some club members who, well, advisors for club members, because you have to have teacher advisors or something like that in order to represent the clubs. I know some of them, they were pretty, all right, we died there, so this is not good. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. So I know some advisors who did a better job, much better job with like keeping with funds properly instead of spending them like constantly and then expecting a similar payout, because with budget stuff, things change all the time. They're going to make cuts here, increases there, and you can't really predict it because it's all part of the board of regents or something like that. And so to anticipate of a cut or anything in general, you just kind of just keep the spending to a minimum. Nothing outrageous, crazy amounts. You could do some things, but like nothing to where it's like you're going to take a bunch of money out. I remember talking to an advisor about it, and he was straight up was telling me like, if they knew, because we were talking about the subject about some members talk about spreading the wealth. He was talking about if they knew how much we have in the account right now, they would be really pissed. And it has nothing to do with getting a lot more than others, because everybody's getting an equal share. Is that he's been saving it and we've been hardly using it for things. We've been finding alternative measures to be funding things and stuff like that. And so that's the thing that goes on, of course, with this kind of stuff. Now, the clubs earn it, and everybody got equal funding. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to be spreading the wealth. Because another problem with that, too, with doing that with these college clubs, is that not only you're setting a precedent where it's like, oh, we could do this whenever, you know what I mean? Once you open Pandora's shitbox, like, you're not going to let it out. All right, we got 500 coins off of that, so that's like our only achievement. Aside from getting the King Bible unlocked. All right, we got that. Let's see here. I don't know if I did it with this character here, so we'll try it. So, not only that happens, but also like we'll definitely get this thing. I guess. And I guess. We don't need hollow. So Spellbinder is associated with the Bible, so we don't really need that anymore. The chandelier thing, that's for like whatever. So we're gonna get the hollow heart for extra health though, just in case. So not only are you setting a precedent that can set yourself up in the future for screwing something up like that, but you're also setting up something where it's like, you know, people are not going to be incentivized to like put as much effort to get club funds or whatever else. They'd be like, wow, what's the point of getting club funds if it's going to be taken out and spread around to everybody that don't deserve it? And that's true. And another thing too, on top of that, you got these new clubs that come in, right? And then now it's like you get these new clubs coming in, and they usually don't last. Usually these new clubs that come in, they don't last for a reason. Because one, they're new, and two, they have less experience with handling such affairs, and three, like, people just kind of fall out of practice. Case in point, the Quidditch Club. And so not only that, it doesn't really stop the clubs that start making to a new club from being like, oh, let's create this new club because we're going to get this funding if we do it before the deadline, where all the funding gets all spread around. So they get the funding to spend it on whatever, and then it becomes the fund. And so that portion is lost out from like everybody else's portion that was taken unfairly. I mean, there's a lot of specifics with it, really. So in the end, it's just like absolutely not worth it. Like, period. There's so many things wrong with that system. If it was ever set in place, just suck it up and spend and have responsibility for your actions. Is essentially what I'm saying to these individuals who were like on the board, suggested such an idea. I see some crazy stuff that goes on in the student boards. Like, it kind of blows my mind. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, it's not really a government board so much, but it's more along the lines of just education stuff. And it's not like a teacher board or anything, but it's these kind of ideas people throw out there and they have no clue what they're talking about. It amazes me. I imagine it's so for like, you know, similar things like school boards or like other kind of things, right? Other kind of like boards like HOA and stuff. What kind of wild ideas they have in mind. It seems to be too arbitrary and too like unusual to be proposing. What was crazy about my student board too was another thing. So we, you know, at student boards, typically there are different positions, higher positions, like treasurer, president, vice president. Of course, they don't really do like anything, the president and vice presidents, at least for my student board I was in. Like nothing. You just got a title, that's it. Like nothing special. You're not like a, you know, a mayor for like a city council or something. Or gives you some kind of little bit of authority somehow. And we're supposed to have these I forgot what you call them. But essentially, they're supposed to be like people who are responsible for the minutes, right? Writing the minutes. The whole purpose is keeping record of highly important actions and, you know, documenting things. And there was a lack of that in the student board, not gonna lie. Like, which blows my mind because we have people that are, well, we have a person that we elect to be doing note-taking, right? And so the whole essential thing is if you're at the meeting, you're note-taking. You're supposed to be doing that, right? And then you're supposed to be, like, creating minutes and agenda stuff to be given out every week, and they're not doing that. And so this becomes a predicament even for members who, like student board members who join student board or something, or part of student board, and they miss like a meeting. Then they have no information to go off from except for like people who are at the meeting. And two, people who are at the meeting might have some details. And two, the issue with like remembering what was all said, specifics and stuff. So you got two kinds of minutes that's supposed to be coming out, just like with the city council. You got an agenda, which tells you about future stuff coming up for the next meeting, of discussion or topics or whatever. And then you got the minutes, which tells you what happened in the previous meeting. Essentially a record, right? So what tends to happen is we may or may not get like minutes or agenda stuff. For the most part, we don't. Even out of months at a time, we get absolutely nothing. And so, me being part of a representative of a club, I took the initiative to do my own minutes and agenda stuff, and then give it to my advisor, and then talk about it in future club meetings. Kind of give a heads up to club members for specific events coming up, what expectations they've added, things like that, you know? And that's a huge deal. And then going over the advisor about like what was said, what was done, and everything at the meeting. So essentially a recap is what I created of myself. And so I've done that for years. I was writing out the specifics as the meeting's going on. So I was essentially the person that's supposed to be... So essentially I took over the position of the person that was supposed to be the one that was doing the note-taking stuff. And they're not doing it. So, yeah, that kind of thing going on. And it sucks because, like, there are people who do miss these meetings. And they kind of rely on that information about, like, you know, what happened here and, you know, what kind of measure was voted and stuff like that. And Mega Ultra Giga Chest. And there's another big problem, too. It's like, because there's a lack of minutes, then people that come back to these meetings, that they have no idea what happened in the last one, have no idea what the proposal is, and then we have to have more of a discussion about it. Which is absolutely terrible because that delays things. And it's happened a lot. It's like, oh, what do we talk about? Not enough details in this meeting to talk about it because of the limited time we've got. Also, I can't remember all the details, so we need to table some proposal off and then talk about it in the future. Like, okay. Essentially, the whole system's got screwed up. So you got this kind of a domino effect, right? Where it's like, okay, well, if they're not in the know, and there's not enough time to be in the know, so I guess we're going to have to table things then in order to talk more about the same redundancy of the thing. It's happened a lot. Good news, I think we might have the healing ability. Nope, we don't. Still, like, whittling my health down. Jesus. Unless I get some more armor, I suppose. That could probably do it. And the slashing critical ability, that definitely would help. So, there was that predicament. And, of course, if I wasn't there to give that kind of information out, then they'd be pretty SOL. Not the student board, but like whoever was I representing. Because there's just not any hard-written, like, information put down on paper. It's essentially what the big problem was. And it is part of the student board regulation stuff that minutes should be minutes and agenda stuff must be like posted and meet within a certain criteria and by like being published every week or something like that, right? That's in the student board itself, like guideline stuff. The guidelines basically, handbook. And nobody followed. That's another thing too. Like, you got this handbook that people need to be following, and most of the time they don't follow certain little things on there, or even this big thing in this case with what's supposed to be reported. Now, in student board meetings, we have someone that sits on in the meeting at all meetings that know the rules about student board stuff, so we don't get like completely confused, and they don't even follow with their own stuff with that kind of thing going on with lack of minutes being published and stuff. Like, that's really concerning. Well, it was really concerning. I don't have to deal with it anymore, but still, like, and then, like, it's like with that one club that got all that funding and they hardly attended any of the meetings and stuff like that and whatever else. They, the thing about that was, they got the funding. They only had one member in the club. One. And that one member was going to be the one to be funded to go to out of state for a sporting competition with their advisor. One club member, over $5,000. Isn't that beautiful? Never attended like any of these meetings until like near the end of the year. One, which was the one where they were asking for the money. Oh, let's just give it to them anyways, and then we'll make the rules later. And no, they found a loophole and they took advantage of it. I guess maybe the reason why we didn't, well, we could have did something, I guess, to be frank. We could have prevented them from having the funding because we were voting whether to get it or not for them. But at the same time, we didn't have anything set in stone about like rules to consider having funding. I've had proposals where there was not enough people to talk about it for some reason, and they want to table it, which is stupid because there's a great majority that's there. Not like a substantially low amount of students there. It's so, they want to table it. Or sometimes they lean one way and then another meeting they want to change their minds completely, even though it would benefit a lot of the school stuff. I got done a funding project that they, I suggested, and then they said, okay, we'll look into it, And I did. And I gave them the price on the system, which wasn't a big deal. And it wasn't like a club thing, it was more aligned to the school thing, so it'd be like separate, totally different funds. Nothing to do with my club or myself. And then I had a couple of members who were being like, well, that's kind of pricey, maybe we shouldn't have that. And in my opinion, this was what we entirely needed, because it was such a need that, like, every other, like, building needed this structure, and that was like a clock system. No, I do not want the whip right there. And so it went from analog to digital. And the analog system, the problem was it was screwed up. Showed different time zones basically around the school. And then, finally this. And then, even one teacher I knew of was taking advantage of the system because the clock was, what was it? It was, I gotta remember here, it's been a while. So the clock was in the wrong time in her room, right? Which she knew it was the wrong time, but she was trying to pretend that it's the right time to take advantage of it. So essentially what she was doing is trying to squeeze an extra 10 minutes out of students. 5 or 10 minutes. And that ended up a lot of them getting late to class a lot, their next class. Because you only have like 5 or 10 minute short window before like class starts, and then people keep getting late to classes because of this jerk. And so so I'm trying to remember. So you had the regular time, right? And by the time they get out, it'll be too late. So that would mean, let me think. Oh, okay. So the clock that was shown in the room was slower than what it is actually perceived. Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially, she pretended that the time was right on there, and so she kept students longer. I was taking advantage of the system, and so what I did was I stopped that across the whole school, including her room. And so I don't know if she knows that I did that or not, but because I had that class with her before, I didn't have any issues, thank God, for like the next class that was coming up. But like there was people that were getting pissed about it. That's for sure. Let's get the fire one, I guess. And so that's the thing. I don't know how many teachers were doing that in the school, but I know for her, she was doing that for sure. People being late to classes, sometimes they lock the doors and then prevent you from coming in, and then it knocks your letter grade down for each time you're late after so many times. There's teachers that are like that too in the school. And so the whole system, so unlike the analog system where you have to manually put stuff in, it's all tied digitally, so that means it's all adjusted by the same kind of reception as cell phones. And so essentially it automatically adjusts itself. The master system does it for it too. And there's no way of manipulating the clocks anymore. I'm not saying that the clocks that were being used were being manipulated, the previous ones. What I'm saying is, like, even if they decided to take the clock apart and try to adjust it, it automatically gets readjusted back to its normal time. They have to get in the master system to screw something up to do it, and they can't. Now, the problem was going on with these analog clocks was actually not people manipulating them, but they were so old and they were like not working properly. The time stuff was just screwed up across the whole campus. And so that was causing issues of itself. Had nothing to do with the one lady or whatever, or certain teachers or anything. It was just screwing up by happenstance. And by happenstance, this teacher in this particular room that she has for regular classes, she could take advantage of squeezing extra minutes out of students and making late for classes just to get extra money of her paycheck. I mean that sincerely. She knew what she was doing, and I've seen it happen a number of times because I was in that class with her. And, well, she can't do it anymore now, can she? I fixed the loophole, and you know what? Even though it was a little costly with that, it's still worth it. Plus, the clocks they have currently set up, they can turn those in and they get like a cost back. So they get some money out of recycling the clocks out of the same company. So, and the way it kind of pays itself, sort of, because they're getting some of the money back, and then it's like they got something that's going to be working right, and students are not going to be confused about like what time it is. Now, granted, they can use their cell phones or something, but these whole clocks had a purpose, still have a purpose, and that's if you don't have a cell phone. Or if you forgot your cell phone, or your cell phone died or something, you know? It's supposed to be a public space with a public time. That's correct. Excuse me. This caffeine's drying my throat out, too. I'm glad that I became part of that, helping out. And with student bar, it's like it's not uncommon for that to happen, I don't think. And things like that do happen. It's all about adapting to the changes. Any roles, any obscurities. You want to adapt and be on the fly on it if you're serious enough to kind of keep your club and your members afloat. Wow, we won here, by the way. I don't know if we get anything additional besides getting the Bible unlocked from last run. But can we make it to 31 minutes? Possibly. Probably not. Alright. Come on. Oh, we made it 31 minutes, so I don't know if that gives us any bonus or not. Oh, we got a new 6,000 stage killers. Ambro Joe. We got a new one. We got a new character. That might be the one that I seen in the preview. Okay. Gets more projectiles every 20 levels. Max of 3+. Starts with temporary amount bonus. Interesting. That's what I see in the preview for the video. So that must be the new character they're talking about. Because the stage killers, they wasn't a thing until recently. Last couple updates. Anyways, that was a good run. So we got a couple things unlocked at least. That's good. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.